I've realised that, you know, there's a lot more to life than that.
Now that was harsh on my mum, you know what I mean? And for me, as a kid, obviously I didn't know what was happening.
I was just looking for the most entertainment I could find. You know, you're young, you know, you want anything to do with hype, anything to do with entertainment, anything to do with excitement.
My dad got HIV, and then basically my mum kept on telling me and my sister, like, preparing us that our dad was going to die.
I actually, in fact, went to New York looking for it, and it was just a surprise that I came across something totally different.
And when I got to 15, I found out that my mum had cancer.
When I adopted the concept of Islam, I understood that this myth called freedom did not exist, because we were affected by the social construct of society and the social construct of the influentials. Now, in essence, also the concept of freedom was like, how do I know the implications of my actions on the rest of humanity?
Within 6 months or something, she passed away. So, because of these things that happened to me at a young age, it kind of set the view I had on life.
And that's why when I did adopt the basis of Islam, that concept had to go. Because now it wasn't freedom, it was the pleasure of my Creator.
I was an innocent kid before, hidden, kept away from all the bad things, because my mum brought me out quite well in that respect, yeah? But then when my mum passed away, I thought, F everything. I forgot everything, I didn't care about anything. Things went downhill for me. I left school at 15. You know, I started blazing every day, drinking alcohol. Yeah, I was in depression for 4 years. I would wake up in a prison cell the next morning. I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a t-shirt on me. You know, scratches all over me, and the police officers telling me I just been fighting some geezer.
For me, it was more of like, is this the truth? And that's the thing that actually gave me true tranquility. And especially when I became Muslim, the things that emanated from Islam in terms of its concepts, those were the things that gave me tranquility. For example, I did not see good or bad as dualities anymore. I saw them as, am I pleasing my Creator, yes or no, in this situation? And the pleasure of my Creator was the thing that was giving me tranquility.
One time I was younger, I was about 8 years old, yeah? And I was thinking about death. I was thinking, what's life about?
One thing which was missing, there was a certain emptiness in my life. An emptiness because I didn't know what life is all about. Why am I here? What's going to happen to me, you know, after I die?
And I remember that night, I asked my mum and she couldn't answer me, and I cried. I was so scared, I couldn't sleep all night. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't think, what is the purpose of this life? When I came to Islam, these questions were answered. That question I had when I was 8 years old, that was answered.
Once I adopted the basis of Islam, and once I understood that Islam was the correct basis to have, then my whole psychological disposition changed. I'm not going to sit there and meditate and just have an altered state of consciousness, because that's fruitless. What I'm going to do is cognitively change my disposition in order to please my Creator.
By the year 623 AD, Islam was established as a state in the Arabian city of Medina, and this state had a constitution that was designed to organize the affairs of different peoples. Within 10 years of that state, the people of the Arabian Peninsula embraced Islam, and the Islamic way of life became dominant. In fact, Islam eventually appealed to millions globally, and it still continues to do so. Over the centuries, it spread to most parts of Africa, the Middle East, India, the Far East, Central Asia, China, the Caucasus, the Balkans, and Spain. Most of these areas were under the vast Islamic Caliphate state that spanned over 1,000 years. At present, there are an estimated 1.5 to 2 billion Muslims globally, including tens of millions in Europe and North America. Despite the absence of the Islamic Caliphate state, it is the fastest growing way of life here in Britain as well as throughout the West. Once implemented in society, Islam achieved prosperity through trade, and scientific discoveries were made in the many fields such as science, architecture, mathematics, astronomy and medicine. It is obviously beyond the scope of this short documentary to discuss these discoveries in great details. However, these facts are well documented even by Western academics.
When I was a Christian, I had certain doubts and questions in my mind. And one of those was the role of prophets. How was it that Isa, or Jesus, alayhi salam, was put in such an esteemed position, given a position even beyond his role, whereas the other prophets, they didn't seem to fit into the picture, and so that troubled me.
It challenged my mind. It made me think.
Initially, I came from a background of a family that were what would you call thinkers.
And it wasn't really until I studied Islam that I could understand that all of the prophets and messengers had a particular calling, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as the last, as the seal of the prophets, was really confirming what had come before and completing the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that really completed the picture for me.
My dad always used to read many books on psychology, philosophy, etc. And obviously coming from a Greek background, it would be quite stereotypical to say that we were thinkers.
The most important question was, how do I know that this creed is the truth? How do I know that this book, the Qur'an, is from the Creator? How do I know that there is a Creator? All of these questions that I posed to another Muslim, he was able to answer it.
So in essence, when you look at the whole universe and you look at all matter around you, I noticed that something was similar.
All other beliefs, creeds, religions, they ask their followers to follow blindly, not to question. They're unable to give evidence which satisfies a thinking person.
Everything was finite and dependent. And I was looking at everything, even the universe. The sun was celestial bodies, they were finite and dependent.
Christianity would have been an easier step for me because my background was Christianity. I used to go to Sunday school. I knew about that. But Islam, what attracted me to Islam, and which is superior in my belief, is that here it's calling me to the worship of the Creator. It's calling me to the worship of the Creator and not the created.
What this meant to me was, what are they dependent on? If they're finite, therefore they cannot exist on their own. They need to rely on something else for existence.
Previously, my parents, they were Buddhist, so I was brought up in not a very strict Buddhist environment. But then, I did have questions about life. I used to think, is there a God or isn't there? But this is something that isn't really, covered in Buddhism. They believe in reincarnation. So these are things that I didn't have answers for.
So from a rational point of view, there is no other explanation but to say there is a creator. Now, I also had another family influence from the scientific angle that, science disproves the creator.
When I started having these questions, I used to push them out of my mind. And I said, well, you never get these answers. It would be a miracle if I did, yeah? And then what happened was that I got to a point where I looked into Buddhism a bit deeper, and I found that I still had so many questions, and a lot of things just seemed like myths and fairy tales to me. It didn't have any hard evidence. So I thought, with this thing, what am I going to do? What's going to happen to me when I die? I thought, I'm just going to look into loads of different religions. And what happened, I just thought I'll look into Islam as well. And surprisingly, it really shocked me. I found that Islam had the answers to these questions that I'd just dismissed for so long.
But then I said to myself, fine, we have to understand what is science. It's a method of study. Scientists, they'll look at gravity and they wouldn't care why it's there. They want to see how it affects the relationship with the other bodies in the universe.
And I took the understanding that I'm not going to attach myself to any belief because I can't tell that they're true.